Today on New England Living, we'll visit a local hive-to-home bee farm taking honey to a whole new level. And we'll get an inside look at an historic Victorian mansion and the effort to preserve it. Plus, our chef series continues with a simple and sophisticated lamb recipe. It all starts right now on New England Living. New England has a style all its own. The people, the history, the culture. Join us as we discover the faces and places, the design and destinations, everyone and everything that makes New England extraordinary.
I'm glad I discovered it now.
Love the place you call home with New England Living. Thanks for joining us today on New England Living. I'm your host, Rachel Holt. First up, we're heading to Holliston to check out a family-owned bee farm making more than just honey. Andy Ruseska started the Boston Honey Company with a passion for bees and the environment.
You've been doing this for over 2 decades. How did you get into this?
I'm formally trained as a chef. I started a commercial house painting business. There was a couple colonies at the client's house, and I was fascinated. I was looking at that time to get back into the food business. Decided to get a colony the following year in 1996 with the focus of learning everything I could know about bees, and in 2000 I went full-time.
Since then, Andy has set up apiaries across Massachusetts, New York, and Georgia, with over 150 colonies just on his Holliston farm alone.
How many bees are there in a colony, if you can give me a rough estimate?
That is usually the number one question we're asked. It all depends on the time of year. During honey production, there's probably about 60,000. And then in the fall, it could drop to about 30 or 40,000. So you have a queen, a worker bee, and a drone. The queen will lay anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 eggs a day based on her fertility. If she's a high quality queen and she's young, she can produce a lot of eggs. The honeybee wants to hoard as much honey as possible. So what we do is we'll give the colony space. The honeybee will recognize that space, and as long as the environment and the resources in the environment are there, the honeybee will gather that and will store it. Really, we're harvesting the excess honey of the honeybee colony.
Is the honey here a little different given where you are?
I think eastern Massachusetts and the honey we produce is some of the finest honey in the country. It's just very, very floral. The black locust and basswood that we have and the European buckthorn, those flora sources are really not found in other parts of the country.
Give me an idea of how much honey you produce here.
It varies within the year. About 2 years ago, we made 400 drums of honey, which is about 270,000 pounds of honey.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that. That is a lot of honey.
It's a lot of honey. It's a good crop. It takes a lot of bees and it takes a lot of forage.
Andy, how do we get from a hive to then something that I can put on my plate?
We take the surplus honey off the colony. We bring it to our facility here in Holliston. We extract it. We store the honey. Beeswax, which is the byproduct of extracting honey, will be rendered down and turned into beeswax candles. Every component of the colony is utilized for the consumer.
I'm excited and I'm also scared to ask, what are you going to have me doing today?
We can go out in the bee colony, see if we can find a queen, and then we'll go through the colony and we'll see the health and the status of that colony. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop a cover and check for queen rate and see the overall health and strength of the honeybees.
Okay.
So really the first thing what you do is when you're looking at a colony, you just give them a little smoke, right?
And what does that do?
It calms them, it sort of focuses them.
How many bees did you say are in each hive?
This is a pretty big colony.
Yeah?
Probably about 30, 40,000 in there. So this is just a frame, there's nectar in here, see all the nectar? This is a drone.
What is a drone again?
A drone is a male bee, right?
And you can tell because he's a little bigger?
Yeah, see how he's fat, the abdomen is stout?
Yep.
So the only purpose of the drone is to mate with a virgin queen.
How many eggs does a queen produce per day?
On a good quality queen, they say 1,000 to 2,000.
How long do bees live for?
It all depends on the season. The summer bees, because they work real hard gathering nectar, they only last about 6 weeks. And the fall bees, the winter bees, which start to be reared in late August and September, will last a few months.
Look at how many bees there are here. If you had a guess, how many bees am I holding?
There's probably 500 to 1,000.
500 to 1,000 bees. The things I do for New England Living.
Oh, we got the queen. So look, you tell me, look in this area right here. What bee looks different?
Oh, there she is. I see her. She's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at this hive and all of the bees that are in here, it is so fascinating that there is just one queen bee in charge of it all.
It is fascinating. And as a unit, they work in harmony, taking care of the whole colony and the survival of the species. And so what we're looking at when we generally do an inspection, we make sure that the colony is healthy, is functioning, that they have adequate resources, that they're bringing in pollen. There's a nectar flow on, so we look for weight, we lift the boxes, make sure they're heavy, they have enough resources to take care of them, and make sure we put honey supers on them so we can get a crop of honey.
And when will you start extracting honey from here?
Once we have the supers full, we generally start to pull the honey. We pull it in late July through August into September.
Andy's son Evan also works in the family business, focusing on retail and marketing.
I grew up into the business, so when my dad first started keeping bees, I was there from the very beginning. I was there as his little sidekick, and I don't know if I was crying or laughing at the time, but I feel a bit of both. And when I was about 13 years old, I was pretty much signed on full time.
How does the honey get from the hives to something that you can then sell inside the store?
So it starts with our honey harvesting season. So this is where all our bees come in and out through Massachusetts. So whether they're leaving down to Georgia for the winter or coming back home, this is where they come to. So in our facility, we have our extracting area, our processing, our packaging. We do everything in-house right here in Holliston, and we have our retail. At our retail store, we get to sell everything that we produce all throughout Massachusetts. All our honeys, our candles, our skin creams, our lotions that we make all in-house as well. And we get to sell the honey from out of state as well from our different locations. Honey is one of the few foods that does not have an expiration date. So even after we've extracted all the honey and processed it, we can put it into storage and have it last for years.
In what ways are honeybees good for the environment?
The estimate is they provide 3 spoonfuls of food for every 5 that's consumed. They pollinate most of the fruit and nut crop in the country and are vital to our survival. We raise honeybees, we provide pollination to the farmers within the community, and we enjoy our work with one of life's most fascinating creatures. And I enjoy it every day.
Coming up after the break, we get an inside look at an historic New England mansion with a unique backstory when New England Living returns after this.